There are moments in life when words cut sharper than any blade, when silence after a single statement echoes louder than an entire speech, when the right response delivered with poise and precision stops an argument, shuts down arrogance, and makes even the boldest opponent retreat into quiet reflection. Most people stumble in heated exchanges, either overwhelmed by emotion, lost for words, or too eager to prove themselves. But those who master the art of calm and strategic responses hold a hidden power. They understand that victory in conversation does not come from shouting louder, but from speaking smarter. They know that composure disarms hostility, that wit dismantles ego, and that clarity leaves no room for counterattack. This script is about those moments, about 5 smart responses that have the potential to silence anyone, not through aggression, not through humiliation, but through undeniable strength of mind. These responses are not about winning petty battles, they are about winning respect. They are not about crushing others with cruelty, they are about showing mastery over yourself and the situation. Imagine walking into a room where criticism is waiting for you, where envy, arrogance, or ignorance tries to pull you down, and instead of shrinking, instead of overreacting, you deliver a response so calm, so sharp, that it changes the atmosphere instantly. That is the essence of power. And once you learn these responses, you will carry with you a shield that no insult can penetrate and a sword that no argument can withstand. The first response is a weapon cloaked in simplicity, silence itself. When faced with provocation, when someone expects you to bite, argue, or beg for validation, the refusal to engage becomes devastating. Silence is not emptiness, it is authority. It communicates that the person's words are beneath you, that they cannot touch the foundation of who you are. The insecure demand reaction, the powerful choose when to speak. Think about it, an insult thrown your way only has power if you hand over your energy to it. By remaining silent, you turn the weight of their words back onto them. The attacker becomes unsettled, for they realize their attempt to wound has failed. They feel small in the shadow of your restraint. The world admires those who do not flinch under fire, who smile or remain calm in the face of provocation. And this is not passive silence, it is active silence. A silence laced with self-control, a silence that says, I heard you, but I will not lower myself to battle in the mud. Use it when someone tries to bait you, when gossipers spit venom, when critics aim to rile you up. The silence will not just silence them, it will expose their pettiness to everyone around. Master this first response, and you will already carry a level of power that most never attain, because restraint is the rarest form of strength. The second response is the art of the piercing question. Questions have the power to dismantle arrogance more effectively than any direct attack because they force the other person to confront their own words. While accusations and counterarguments can be deflected, a well-placed question lingers in the mind, demanding an answer, exposing weakness. When someone speaks nonsense, rather than saying, you're wrong, you ask, what evidence do you have to support that? When someone mocks or criticizes you, instead of defending yourself with long explanations, you calmly ask, why does that bother you so much? These questions turn the spotlight around, shifting the burden of proof onto them. Suddenly, their aggression looks flimsy, their bravado collapses. This technique is not about aggression, it is about intellectual dominance. It communicates that you are unshaken and analytical, that you prefer clarity over chaos. Imagine someone boasting loudly about their superiority, belittling others to inflate their ego. You could argue, but their arrogance feeds on conflict. Instead, ask, if you are as confident as you say, why do you need to prove it so loudly? That one question drains the energy from their performance. They stumble, not because you shouted them down, but because you forced them to face their own contradictions. The world falls silent not when noise is met with more noise, but when noise is exposed as hollow. Master this response, and you will learn to use people's own words against them, leaving them cornered not by your anger but by their own lack of substance. The brilliance of asking questions lies in its subtlety. It doesn't paint you as combative, yet it leaves the other person defenseless. A question is not an attack, it is an invitation for them to explain themselves, but in that invitation lies the trap. For most people who lash out, mock, or brag, their foundation is weak. They thrive only when no one challenges their assumptions. But the moment you calmly shine a light on the holes in their thinking, they shrink. You don't even need to ask complex or intellectual questions, the simplest ones are the sharpest. When insulted, what made you say that? When pressured, what makes you think that matters to me? When manipulated, what do you gain from this? Each question forces reflection, halts momentum, and reminds everyone listening that you are not rattled, you are in control. Even better, these questions create an audience effect. If others are present, the one attacking you suddenly feels exposed, for now, everyone is waiting for their justification. Their failure to answer makes them look small without you having to insult them. And when they do answer, their reasoning often unravels, further cementing your composure as strength. This is the quiet genius of smart responses: you don't fight harder, you fight smarter. By asking the right questions, you don't just silence your opponent, you also elevate yourself in the eyes of everyone else as someone who cannot be shaken by cheap words. The third response is the controlled strike of brutal honesty. Most people sugarcoat, dodge, or soften their words to avoid conflict. But when you speak the raw truth, direct, clear, without malice yet without hesitation, you wield a force few can stand against. Honesty cuts deeper than insult because insult can be dismissed as jealousy or immaturity, but truth cannot be ignored. Imagine someone belittling you, questioning your worth, trying to undermine your confidence. Instead of responding with anger, you say calmly, "You project your insecurities onto me because you can't face them in yourself." No shouting, no theatrics, just a sharp reflection of reality. The room goes quiet because everyone recognizes the truth, even if unspoken. Brutal honesty carries an authority that no performance can overpower. This is not cruelty, because cruelty seeks to hurt. Brutal honesty seeks to reveal. It exposes the game others play, leaving them stripped of their masks. Many people crumble under it because they live protected by illusions. To pierce those illusions is to destabilize their entire stance. One precise statement, delivered without anger, can achieve more than 1,000 defensive words. But here lies the secret: brutal honesty works only when it is rare, when you reserve it for moments that demand it. Overuse makes you seem harsh or bitter. Precision makes you unforgettable. Brutal honesty demands courage, because it often means saying what everyone else is thinking but no one dares to say. It takes a level of self-mastery to strip away politeness and call reality by its name. But once you do, the effect is devastating. For instance, when someone constantly criticizes others to mask their emptiness, the smart response could be, "It seems you find flaws in others because it distracts you from your own." Or when a manipulator twists your words to gain power, you say, "You don't want truth." These are not insults. They are revelations, spoken plainly. And the reason they silence people is because they have no shield against them. If you tell a liar, "You are lying," they can deny it. But if you say, "You lie because honesty terrifies you," they freeze. Why? Because you did not attack the act, you attacked the motive. You exposed the root, and the root cannot be hidden once named. When you master brutal honesty, you become like a mirror no one dares to stand before. It is uncomfortable, but it is powerful, and power rarely comes wrapped in comfort. If silence is strength and questions are strategy, then brutal honesty is the blade, swift, sharp, final. Use it sparingly, but when you use it with precision, and the silence that follows will speak volumes. The fourth response is the calm redirection of perspective. When someone tries to belittle you, insult you, or drag you into their storm, the most disarming reply is not defense but redirection, taking their energy and flipping it into something they never expected. This response works because most attacks thrive on predictability. People expect you to argue, to get defensive, to fight fire with fire. But when you respond with unexpected calmness and shift the focus, you break the script entirely. For example, when mocked for your ambition, instead of explaining yourself, you respond with, "I'd rather be criticized for trying than applauded for doing nothing." When someone tries to humiliate you publicly, you redirect with, "Your words say more about you than they ever could about me." Notice how these statements don't fight, they transform. The energy of the attack is redirected back at the attacker, revealing the weakness behind their effort. This technique silences not because it overwhelms, but because it reframes. The aggressor suddenly realizes their attempt to control the narrative has failed. Instead of being dragged into their drama, you've elevated the and wisdom always silences noise. Calm redirection is a mastery of emotional control. It proves that your state of mind cannot be hijacked by cheap words or petty attacks. Imagine someone throwing sarcasm your way, hoping to embarrass you. Instead of shrinking or retaliating, you smile and say, "Interesting perspective, I'll let the results speak for themselves." Instantly, the attack dies, because you've shifted the battlefield from the present insult to the future outcome. You've shown you're not interested in mud fights, you're interested in results, growth, truth. That is a battlefield where most critics cannot compete. Another example, when someone tries to paint you as arrogant for having standards, you can calmly respond, "Confidence looks like arrogance to those who lack it." That statement not only silences the critic but also elevates your position without direct hostility. Redirection works because it maintains dignity while exposing pettiness. It makes the attacker feel foolish, not because you insulted them, but because you refuse to play their game. And this is the essence of true intelligence in conversation, not lowering yourself to the level of noise, but raising the dialogue to a level where only strength can survive. When you learn to redirect instead of react, you don't just silence individuals, you silence entire rooms, because wisdom echoes louder than any insult ever could. The fifth response is the power of unexpected agreement. It seems counterintuitive at first. Why would you agree with someone who insults you? Why would you nod at a critic? But this tactic works because it diffuses tension instantly, steals the energy of the attack, and flips the entire situation into irony. When someone throws an insult expecting a fight, nothing silences them more than you calmly agreeing. If someone sneers, "You're too ambitious, you'll never make it," you can smile and say, "You might be right, but I'd rather fail chasing greatness than succeed at staying." Suddenly, the critic is disarmed. They expected resistance, but you've given them composure. If someone mocks you, saying, "You think you're special," you can reply, "Of course I do, because no one else has my path, just like no one else has yours." Agreement in this way doesn't mean surrender, it means turning their weapon into your shield. It shows that you are unbothered, that their attempt to define you has no sting. It shifts the narrative from their insult to your strength. Most attackers don't know what to do when the target refuses to play the victim role. Instead of silencing you, they end up silencing themselves. Unexpected agreement is rooted in supreme confidence. Only someone secure in who they are can embrace criticism without flinching. When used correctly, it transforms attacks into opportunities to highlight your resilience. Suppose someone laughs at your dreams, saying, "That's impossible." You respond, "Exactly, that's why it's worth doing." The silence that follows is not awkward, it's respect. People realize you are untouchable because you don't need validation, and no insult can corner you. Another scenario, if someone calls you stubborn, you respond, "Yes, stubborn enough to not settle for less than what I deserve." Instantly, the label that was meant to wound becomes a badge of honor. This response works because it shifts control, you take the insult, own it, and redefine it in your favor. It's like verbal judo, using their force against them. By agreeing, you neutralize their 5 weapons, 5 shields, 5 strategies to silence anyone, not with cruelty, but with intelligence, strength, and unshakable presence. Consider the workplace, where power dynamics often create moments of tension. You may face a boss who criticizes you unfairly, a colleague who mocks your effort, or a competitor who tries to undermine you in front of others. In such moments, silence becomes your ally. Picture a meeting where someone throws a sarcastic comment at you, expecting a defensive retort. Instead, you pause, let the silence stretch, and continue with your presentation. The silence works like a mirror, it reflects their immaturity back onto them. Others in the room see the dignity in your composure and the insecurity in their outburst. The critic silences themselves without realizing it, because silence makes their noise look desperate. You didn't argue, you didn't raise your voice, and yet you walked away with more authority than you had before. This is how silence in professional settings transforms not just conversations, but reputations. People begin to associate you with stability, control, and quiet strength, which are the very qualities that elevate leaders above the crowd. Now think about relationships, friends, partners, family, where emotions often run high, and words can wound deeply. The piercing question is especially effective here. Suppose someone accuses you unfairly in anger, "You don't care about me." Instead of firing back defensively, you ask softly, "What makes you feel that way?" This simple question transforms the conflict. It shifts the tone from accusation to reflection. It invites dialogue instead of escalating war. Often, people who lash out are expressing pain, not truth. A piercing question uncovers that pain and silences hostility. Or imagine being criticized by a relative who never seems satisfied with your choices. Instead of defending every decision, you ask, "What exactly are you hoping I'll do differently?" That question puts the responsibility back on them, forcing them to confront their expectations. In relationships, questions silence noise not by domination but by opening a doorway to honesty. They prove that you are strong enough to face discomfort without aggression, and that strength itself makes unnecessary arguments crumble. Public interactions are the true test of composure, because the presence of an audience amplifies both the attack and your response. When someone tries to belittle you in front of others, their intent is often not just to wound you but to win the crowd. This is where brutal honesty shines the brightest. Imagine being at a gathering where a loud voice mocks you, "You always fail at whatever you try." The temptation is to defend yourself, but the smart move is to strike with calm truth, "I fail because I dare to attempt what others are too afraid to try." That statement doesn't just silence the critic, it transforms the room. Brutal honesty works like a spotlight, exposing the courage in your journey and the emptiness in their words. The crowd shifts their gaze, no longer admiring the heckler but respecting the one who dared to stand firm in truth. Public settings magnify this effect, because people admire strength cloaked in dignity. A clever insult may win laughter, but brutal honesty wins respect, and respect silences more permanently than ridicule ever could. Social gatherings also test your ability to redirect energy. For example, picture someone throwing sarcasm at you during a conversation, trying to make you the butt of a joke. If you retaliate, you fuel their performance; if you retreat, you look weak. But with calm redirection, you flip the script entirely. When they say, "You take yourself too seriously," you respond with a smile, "Only because I take my dreams seriously." Suddenly, the laughter shifts. The audience recognizes depth where they expected embarrassment. You've reframed the insult into a statement of pride. Another situation, a stranger questions your worth with arrogance, saying, "You don't look like you belong here." Instead of anger, you calmly reply, "That's because I'm not here to fit in, I'm here to stand out." This kind of redirection kills the attack because it reframes the battlefield. Instead of lowering yourself, you lift the conversation to a higher plane where the attacker cannot follow. In public, where appearances matter, this tactic does more than silence, it inspires. Others witness not just your defense but your command, and that reputation echoes long after the words have faded. The digital world is a battlefield of words, where critics hide behind screens, and insults fly without consequence. Social media, forums, and comment sections often become arenas where egos clash and insecurities spill over. But here, the 5 smart responses are more powerful than ever. Silence, for instance, is devastating online. When someone attacks you publicly, they crave reaction, likes, shares, attention. By refusing to respond, by letting their words die without acknowledgement, you strip them of the validation they seek. Silence online is not weakness, it is strategy. People quickly forget noise that is not fed. What remains remembered is the dignity of those who do not engage in mudslinging. And when you do respond, the piercing question is your sharpest weapon. When someone spreads baseless criticism, you reply with, "What experience gives you the authority to say that?" That question lingers in the thread, and suddenly the aggressor must either retreat or expose their lack of credibility. Online, where most prefer empty noise, the clarity of a question shines like lightning. But online spaces also make brutal honesty a weapon of unmatched precision. In a debate thread, instead of arguing endlessly, you cut straight through with a truth so sharp it cannot be ignored. You attack because you have no argument. Noise is your only defense. If these words struck something deep within you, if you felt the fire of strength rising as you imagined yourself answering with power instead of fear, then don't let this moment slip away. Subscribe now, because this is only the beginning of your transformation. Every video we create is a weapon for your mind, a shield for your spirit, a reminder that you are stronger than the noise of the world. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, because silence, strength, and wisdom are contagious. And when you master them, you don't just silence others, you awaken the greatness within yourself. So hit that button, join this journey, and let's rise together.